Over the next 6 weeks, I'm going to be covering all of the Wrong Turn movies. There is a new Wrong Turn movie coming out this year, hopefully, called Wrong Turn: The Foundation, which will be the 7th movie in the franchise. So I decided to cover all the first 6 movies.
Everybody's a suspect!
Coming to get you, Bobber.
Wolfman's got Nards!
Before revisiting the franchise, I've actually only seen the first 2 movies, so the next 4 after that I had no idea what they were about. And I did hear they've got an average rating of like 4.8 on IMDb or whatever it is, so I knew I wasn't going to be in for masterpieces. Wrong Turn is a 2003 horror movie directed by Rob Schmidt, and it stars Eliza Dushku, Jeremy Sisto and Desmond Harrington. Being the first movie in the franchise, there was no telling what the quality of this franchise was going to be like, or even if it was going to be a franchise itself. 6 people find themselves trapped in the woods of West Virginia, hunted down by cannibalistic mountain men, grossly disfigured through generations of inbreeding. Before we're introduced to the main cast, we start at the very beginning with these 2 hikers that are in the woods of West Virginia, and this is the first 2 kills that they get in the movie. And they also confirm that they're 50 miles away from anyone, so that confirms to the audience how isolated they actually are. After the first 2 kills, it cuts to the credits of the movie, and this is what I like about this movie, not just over the other Wrong Turn movies, but other horror movies in general, where we get a backstory within the first 2 minutes of the credits. We see newspaper clippings about what these people are, how they got there, what kind of people that they are, and it also mentions that they've got some strength as well. Some questionable things happen in the movie which was quite interesting, where we have the main character, he's trying to get to a job or trying to get somewhere, and he's stuck in traffic on the highway, and on the radio it mentions that there was a jackknifed lorry on the highway, and that's causing the delay in the build-up, so he has to take a detour. And I'm wondering, they don't mention this, but I'm wondering if that jackknife was caused by some of the cannibalistic hillbillies. Throughout the movie, there are some nods to older movies that are in that subgenre of the backwoods, and one of the most notable ones is The Hills Have Eyes. Another movie that this movie is a nod to, and they did mention that, was Just Before Dawn. I'll give you a quick backstory on Just Before Dawn. In Wrong Turn, they go to a place called Bear Mountain Road, and when I was younger I didn't know the name of Just Before Dawn. I forgot the name of it as a kid, and me and my sister used to call it the Men Bears. That's all we could remember, these big men who looked like bears basically, so we just called it the Men Bears. And I eventually found out the name of it. It was called Just Before Dawn. It was a 1981 horror movie, and what brought that back was when I watched Wrong Turn, they go into the Bear Mountain Road, and it was a bit of a coincidence that the movie that I thought was called The Men Bears, and having Wrong Turn be a nod to that movie, having a mountain called Bear Mountain Road, yeah, I'm straying way off. One of the characters mentions the movie Deliverance, another movie that inspired Wrong Turn.
Well, I need to remind you of a little movie called Deliverance.
There was some intense moments in this film. Even though I'd seen it before, I still found myself holding my breath. Another Hills Have Eyes nod with all the victims' cars abandoned in the middle of nowhere. They did mention at the start of the movie they were 50 miles from anywhere, and this scene here just shows us the scope and the scale of how isolated they actually are. If the Wrong Turn franchise is remembered for anything, I think that some of the kills in the franchise are excellent. This little gas station attendant, who also reminds us of a character in The Hills Have Eyes, he looks a bit shifty at the beginning of the movie, and then near the end of the movie we see him looking in the distance and he sees that pickup truck coming, and his expression tells the audience, tells us that he knows who they are. He knows that, from what I can tell, they don't annoy him, he doesn't annoy them, and he sort of leads people down their path so that they can kill and eat them, similar to The Hills Have Eyes. That's what that scene tells me. The movie did come out in 2003, and we get a mid-credit scene, something that we didn't see that much of back in the day, and as far as I can remember, that seemed to be the first mid-credit scene that I've ever seen in a horror movie. That also confirms that Three Finger isn't dead. At a time with all the teen slashers coming out, and in fact a time where the teen slashers were fizzing out, I was looking for something different back in 2003, and so were a lot of people, and I think this was a refreshing change from all the teen slashers that we saw. This movie was full full of adults, with the exception of Kevin Zegers, who was a teenager at the time. Everyone else was an adult, and I did read that the director wanted to bring in late 20s, which they did do, but they wanted to make them look a little bit younger because it was still targeting the teen audience. Aside from Lindy Booth and Kevin Zegers, who we didn't see much of, I think that the final 4 survivors in the film were really good. They were quite natural. It did seem like Jeremy Sisto's character and Emmanuel Kreischer's character, they seemed naturally involved with each other, which was nice. And also Desmond Harrington and Alicia Dushku, even though they didn't know each other in the movie, it seemed like they had that chemistry there, and that's what I liked about it, and that's why I wanted the final 4 to survive. Something that I loved about Just Before Dawn was the mood and the score of the movie in 1981, and that's what they held up with Wrong Turn. I think that when the music wasn't on, when the score wasn't on, all we heard was the birds chirping in the background when it was almost silence, and I think that was very moody and set the mood for the rest of the movie. Something that I loved about the killers in this was you didn't see them up close face to face, and then when you did, there was something covering them. They were turned to the side or the back, or there was something just in the way, and you didn't see them for an extended period of time. I think the distance that we had with the cannibals, with the hillbillies, was great because it made us scared of them as well. What's tracking us? What's chasing us? That was quite scary and quite clever. Near the beginning, when Kevin Zegers' character Evan went missing, that's when the movie picked up. That's when it picked up the pace. It's not a long movie. It's about 84 minutes long, including the credits. And from the time he gets taken away to the very end, it was just non-stop. You didn't get a chance to breathe. You didn't get a chance to relax. And then when we thought we were getting a chance to relax, something else happened. I would say my only gripe with this film was the fact that they kept Jess alive. At the beginning to the very end, whoever they capture, they kill straight away. And that's the way we're set up. That's the way we think that these cannibals think. But when Jess gets taken and she gets held hostage, I thought that took us away from what the cannibals were trying to do. I know that they kept her alive for movie purposes, of course. But if they wanted to make it more grounded, at the beginning they maybe should have taken a few people and kept them alive and then killed them, so that when they took Jess and gave Desmond Harrington's character a chance to go and get her, then it would have been more realistic, because we would have thought, yes, well, they're keeping her alive because that's what they do. They like to taunt them and then kill them. So yeah, that was my only gripe with the movie. Overall, guys, I thought it was a really strong backwoods horror movie, and that's why I like to call it a backwoods horror slasher, because I feel like that has a subgenre on its own. You do get horror movies, you get slasher movies, you get hillbilly movies as well, but this is one of those backwoods slasher movies that I really loved back in the day, and I think that Wrong Turn is one of the hardest ones to beat. So that's my first review for the Wrong Turn franchise, guys. Over the next 5 weeks after this, I'm going to be covering all the rest of the movies as well, and eventually I will be covering the new movie that's coming out too. But as always, guys, leave your comments down below. Let me know what you think of this movie on its own. Don't talk about the other movies in the franchise, because you'll have an opportunity to talk about them in my future videos, but let me know what you thought of the first movie. As always, guys, thanks a lot for watching. Thanks for subscribing. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.